In this video, I'm going to discuss with you the best method or the methodology available in the world for us to come to know about ourselves, to become aware of ourselves. When I say so, you may not perhaps agree with me, but before I come to that particular process, let me explain to you in brief the essence of Buddhism, the core of Buddhism. Now we got a big number of discourses in the Buddhist doctrine in scripture, but when we just go through all the discourses, now we can summarize everything into a simple formula. What is this formula? It's about coming to know about your pure and impure thoughts and how you are going to measure between these two. So this is the formula. What is meant by impure, what is meant by pure, or what's meant by what is called the measurement or the measuring between these two. Let me explain to you it in this way. You know that what the Lord Buddha says, that the people, right, get attached to these worldly things. So this is called raga, and with that particular raga, right, in relation to that, we developed a kind of a dislike towards others. That is called dosa, or it has been translated into English as hatred, but that is a wrong concept in the sense, you see, when you say hatred, or the idea that we get is that the ill will towards others. Now, dosa has a different meaning. I will explain it to you. Then the moha or ignorance. Right, there is ignorance. What is this ignorance? Now let me give an example to understand what I've been talking about. Now let's say in this way. So you see a beautiful car, and then you got a car of your own. But when you see that beautiful car, that you get an attachment to that beautiful car, and then you go in your thought process of acquiring that particular car, and you go home, you talk to your wife, and your whole thought process is occupied by that particular car. Then you feel it and you dream of it, and that you are getting attached to this one. And when you do not get it, you see now, then it's suffering. But with that particular with that particular attachment, right, toward the worldly things, you try to develop a dislike. That is called dosa, because you have that your own car. So in comparison with that new car that you are seeing, you begin to dislike your car. That is okay. That's one okay way of dosa. There are okay variations. So always you see now these two, right, seem to have relationship, and then now you measure between these two, that the new car and the car that you have. So this is called moha or ignorance. Ignorance in the sense, you see now, that both the cars are made of steel and they tend to decay. But you tend to think, you see now, that the new car that you have seen is better. Okay, and that is why that you are getting attached to this one. So why did I explain now these things to you? So this is now, according to Buddhism, liberation means getting rid of these types of thoughts. What are they? The attachment or the desire or the ill will or dislike, and the ignorance, right? And on the other hand, that you have pure thoughts. Sometimes you see now you may have compassion towards others, so loving kindness towards others, and you may be happy sometimes when you see the progress of the other people. So those are pure thoughts, and we have then pure and impure. So you are always discriminating between these two, right? Now the Lord Buddha, you see, now gives us a particular way, the method, procedures, a number of steps for us to come to know this particular process. That is why I say now we got a big number of theorists, a few cognitive psychological theories as well, now for us to come to know about ourselves. But The methodology given by the Lord Buddha is going beyond right all those theories. Now let me explain to you what this particular process is. Then you can understand how we can become aware of ourselves. You know that now we get okay views or the thoughts or the feelings or the emotions, right, with the five senses. And when such a thought, right, comes to you, the first thing that you must do according to Buddhism, you see now, and think of that the way, of course, how this particular idea or the thought comes to you, right? And with that, you see now, then you become aware, right? Now I have this particular thought, this particular feeling, this particular emotion. Now till now we haven't decided whether it is a pure or impure thought, you see now, but you know that okay, now there's a particular view, that a thought, that with your emotion or a feeling, right? And then you become aware of that one, and with that you see now you begin to feel it more, right? In Magadhi language we call it pasanto. Now you come to know that idea or a thought comes to you right from the five senses, and then you become aware of this particular thought, and then you begin to feel, because now suppose if it is a kind of a desire, that you get that emotion within you and you feel for it. And if it is a dislike or a hatred towards someone, right, your heart begins to beat, and so now it's a kind of warming up within you. You see now you feel it. With that, then the next step is reflection. Then you reflect on this particular process. Now what is this reflection? You come to know how it came to know, and how it's developing, and what kind of feeling that you have now. When you reflect on that one, you get a kind of a learning. So you know that the reflection is always there, you see now, for us to get a kind of a learning. Then you can use this learning, that the learning that you get from reflection, for you to understand what actually happens within you. It's really important. You really want to make efforts. If you are going to give it up, you see now, then you find it rather difficult to come to know what really happens within you, because now you are, this is kind of an introspection. You got to understand that your own thought process. Then you make efforts not to give it up, but to go forward, the coming to know what it really is. And then you then the next step, right, in the with the next step, that you begins to sort of, you see now, see that the difference of whether it's a pure thought or an impure thought. And that way, so this is the first time that you're going to see, right? And whether you are going to get a kind of compassion or loving kindness, or a pure thought, or a kind of a selfless, a virtuous one, or it's a kind of a evil one, right? Then what really happens, you see now, then you with that, once again, it's really important for you to be determined, and then once again you make a lot of efforts just to come to know the reality of what that particular thought is, right? Then you come to know, right, if you are going to get this particular thought into your mind, right, continually, if you are going to keep it, what will happen to you? And it's really important, whether it's a virtuous one, whether it's a selfless one, whether it's a compassionate one, or whether it's a kind of an evil thought, a hatred, a dislike, right, or a kind of thought that brings harms to the other people. And this is the most important stage there, you see now. Then you come to a kind of a concentration there. Now you are fully, right, concerned with this one, and you have understood to a greater extent, and now you can fully keep your mind on this particular thought process there. And there, then you get a kind of an understanding whether it's a good okay thought or a bad one, pure one or an impure one. And with okay, when you think that way, when you go further, when you go forward, that your understanding right deepens, then you get an insight, a profound knowledge. Oh, whether it is a kind of a thought that I must keep to myself, or whether it's a kind of a thought that I got to get rid of. This is the most important aspect. Then, if you feel that now you have discriminated now between these two, now you know right whether it's a kind of a good thought, a pure thought, and if it is so, right, you are going to keep it with you, keep it in your mind. You are not going to get rid of that one, because that gives you satisfaction, right, and that guides you right to get your liberation. Supposing if it is an evil thought or a bad thought, okay, something that is detrimental right to the others, if it's an ill will, then at that time itself there's a particular methodology right given in Buddhism that I'm going to discuss with you later on, not now in this particular video. You use those procedures and get rid of that evil thoughts. Now you are free. This is liberation. Now you see this particular process, what a wonderful process, right? In none of the psychological theories you can find such a wonderful method for us to become aware of ourselves, to come to know about our thought process for our liberation.